Well, hello there, everyone. That's a little loud. Let me turn that down. Welcome back to another episode of Going Rogue, our weekly Star Wars stream. I'm Andrew Dimalanta.
And I'm Nicki Dimalanta.
And this is such a very special episode for us today because we have somebody very special.
Very special.
I've been a fan of this man for so long. He's one of the best Star Wars voices we have out there in the community. And that is Ken Napzok. Wow, why are you so tiny?
there we go. All fixed.
Say hello, Ken. How are you doing, my man?
I'm good. I'm sorry. It sounds like I'm broadcasting probably in a storm shelter, but I'm glad to be with you all here for this wonderful occasion to talk Star Wars with two wonderful fans, two wonderful Schmodown personalities and afternoon supporters. I enjoy it. I enjoy having you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything that pops up with your name in the show, I'm like, oh, I got to tune in again.
I'm in.
Yeah, and it just dawns on me. We've met up with you in person a handful of times now. Met you officially. Well, actually, the first time I met you face to face was when Celebration was here in Orlando.
Oh yeah.
And we very briefly took a picture, and then you went on your way because you were busy. But the handful of times we've met you, we've never ever actually sat down and talked Star Wars with you, which is very upsetting.
It's also nice to be able to talk to you and not have to scream at you in a bar. So
That's true.
It's a nice change.
Yeah. So I've been looking for this show all week because it's Ken Napzok. I mean, well, and your quality keeps switching, so I gotta keep changing your size on the video stream. But yeah. So let's go ahead and get. Like I said before, this is a very casual show. We have some notes, but go ahead and hit us up with the Streamlabs guys. We have Streamlabs with Andrew and Nikki.stream. We had a little trouble with that URL last week, so if you continue to have those troubles, we'll go back to the old URL. But yeah, go ahead and pop your questions in with that. And I'm going to bring up our Patreon later because we might have some topics from our squadron commanders. But first off, like we start off every week with the show, we talk Clone Wars. Clone Wars Season 7 has continued to be going on. Ken, you're obviously caught up with the show. What are you thinking of the show, all the episodes that we've gotten thus far?
I've absolutely loved what's been going on this season. I thought the Bad Batch was a fun kind of reworking of what some of us had seen before, but I had kind of just forgot a lot about what was going on there with that. So I quite enjoyed the Bad Batch stuff, and then the Ahsoka stuff's just been really good. I really enjoy it. I think it does this. It's taken this deep dive into how we look at the Jedi and the Jedi during this era and what George was trying to say, and goes a long way to adding to the development of this great character, Ahsoka Tano.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know you don't watch the show. With
Yeah,
yourself.
I'm not gonna have a lot to say here. you guys just have at it.
Yeah. So I've enjoyed the Bad Batch story arc. I really enjoyed. I like seeing this whole new I'm I got a real Metal Gear Solid type vibe from them, like a really special forces type of group with them. And then we got into these Ahsoka episodes, and I'm one that said that I really thought they could condense the first 2 episodes of that arc into one episode. Because this third episode, I really liked the perspective of Trace and Rafa's backstory and how the Jedi really we didn't get to see the collateral damage that we've gotten to see of all these struggles and see the regular guy. The way we see the Clone Wars from the regular person's eyes, and I really liked there's consequences to some actions that have happened in the Clone Wars, and I liked seeing that. But I never really got attached to Rafa and Trace throughout these arcs, and I just wanted to get to this point a little bit quicker. But overall, I really like what we've been seeing from these episodes. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think there were some pacing things. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and you and Joseph talk on Force Center, and if you're not following Force Center, what are you doing with your lives? If you're a Star Wars fan, you need to be listening to this podcast. Force Center is a show that I try to model this show after, just a positive show for fans to come to, and everybody has their own window into Star Wars. Everybody has their own opinions on Star Wars, but we want to celebrate Star Wars. We don't want to be that. We don't want to give into that. That toxicity of some certain people in fandom. So, yeah, what are you looking forward to most with the next episodes? Because I think we're starting to get into the story that we wanted to see out of these newer episodes in the Clone Wars. What are you hoping to see out of what we've got left?
What I'm hoping to see is the resolution. The Siege of Mandalore stuff is what I've been for a long time. We've been known that's coming. We get so much little references, pieces of it here and there. The Ahsoka novel, for example. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this take the whole series home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like the Siege of Mandalore, because we got it in the Ahsoka novel. I was like, I really want to see that on screen because I think we got teases of it. Like it was in development, but then the show got cut off, and we just didn't get to see that arc. That's something I'm really looking forward to, and I need to get you on the show. Like
at some
you
point,
need to
yeah.
get into the show. I mean, there's a lot of episodes to catch up on, but you're missing out on some great Star Wars stories. Some great, not just good, but like great stories, especially with Ahsoka.
I believe you.
It's absolutely amazing. So, yeah, usually after we talk Clone Wars, we talk any Star Wars news that has happened. Not a lot of Star Wars news. We get like rumors and hearsay, and what we've gotten, I think, this week was as I pull up Star Wars Newsnet. Ming-Na Wen's character from The Mandalorian is rumored to have shot some episodes for season 2. I really liked this news because I think she was underutilized in that episode.
Oh, heck yeah.
Especially a name like Ming-Na Wen. Like when I heard she was in The Mandalorian, I'm like, yes, I want to see more of this character. We only got her for one episode. So, and not to spoil anything, even though we spoiled a lot of things for people on the show, is that I wanted to see more, and after where that episode ends, I absolutely want. I think it hints at yes, there's going to be more of this character in the future. What were your thoughts on that, Ken?
Yeah, when she was cast, I remember production had already wrapped up with season 1 when we heard she was cast, so it was kind of curious to see how they were going to work her in, and I like the character a lot. I like the potential ties. Obviously there's that big cliffhanger of what comes up at the end of that episode, episode 5. Unfortunately, episode 5 is one of my least favorite things ever in Star Wars.
No.
But there's some great stuff in there, and she's one of the great things in there. So if that rumor's, I'm not surprised by that rumor, and looking forward to maybe finding out more about that character some way, either another media or this show.
Yeah, for those who aren't familiar with your take on that episode, because like people like me that listen to you on Force Center talk about, I can't remember what your take on. What was the things that you were a little disappointed about with that episode, though?
I just thought, on paper, there's a lot of stuff there. It was written and directed by Filoni, and I am not one of those super trusting Filoni guys. I think he's done some great things and continues to do some great things, and I trust him more than others. Just sometimes he makes some big swings, and there was some stuff in that episode that I loved. But yeah, the Toro Calican character was just not executed properly for me, and Amy Sedaris I'm a fan of, and tonally it was a little bit different at times, but I rewatched it 2 days ago in the middle of my rewatch, and I enjoyed it a lot more, and that's what I always preach is take something in and then just sit on your opinion for a little bit. If it's super negative, it might grow into something else, and going back and revisiting it, a lot of the problems I have with it, I'm not super concerned about.
Yeah, and that's something that we learn about, like, as Star Wars fans. Like, Rogue One is I preach this on the show all the time. Like, Rogue One, when I initially saw it, it's like, all right, the characters didn't really grab me the first time.
I was super bored the first time.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure what everybody's, because like people are like, oh, it's the best Star Wars movie ever, and then like I really don't get it. But the more I watch that movie, it's like I appreciate for small little nuances. I like this thing of like standing up for what you believe in, the theme of sacrifice, and just things like that just continue to come at me every time I watch it. So that, like, just revisiting things as Star Wars fans is something that I think everybody should try to do at least, because like the way that the fandom is now, it's just like, oh, we saw Rise of Skywalker, I don't like it. It sucks.
Never
gonna
watch it again.
Never gonna watch it again. It's like, no, revisit it because I needed that second viewing, because I had everybody in my head and my ears were like, oh, this, the pacing, blah, blah, blah. Even myself, I had problems with certain things. That second viewing was like, okay, now I get it. Now I love watching The Rise of Skywalker, and all that stuff. And anything like that you can think of going in, like just revisiting Star Wars things.
I mean, I feel like not the first time, but I feel like a while ago when we started rewatching like prequels and stuff. When I started rewatching prequels and stuff,
Rewatch them for no reason at all.
No reason. Attack of the Clones.
It's not like we have to study for anything.
It took me like 3 times to get through the Attack of the Clones because I kept falling asleep. In all honesty, I was like, man, that was rough. But now that I've seen it a respectable amount of times, I'm like, all right, it's not so. There's worse. There's worse stuff out there. Even the Clone Wars, the movie, like first time, rough.
Yeah.
But going back and watching it, the initial shock of watching it the first time was over, and now I get to actually sit there and pick it apart and watch it and enjoy it for what it is. So I do think there's a lot of revalue in rewatching stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I think it's a slow news week. I mean, there's not much coming out of Star Wars, especially now of everything that's happening in the world right now. There's much more to news-wise, obviously, and there's all these stuff about days of release speaking out about the backlash for the Rise of Skywalker, which I don't want to get into because that's not what the show is really about. It's like we could talk about it's just really like people have their negative opinions, have their everybody wants their say on Star Wars, and it's like I've said it before. I'm a very forgiving Star Wars fan, so you can just say all this negative stuff about it. It's like, well, I still love it. I'm like, that's you're not gonna. I don't know. I don't get people sometimes why they say like, oh, you're wrong because of this. It's like I love Star Wars. Nothing you say is gonna hinder my love for Star Wars. I always love Star Wars, and I always will love Star Wars. I mean, Ken, you're one of these people that I've followed for years, and it's really easy to say like, oh, you're a Disney shill because you haven't said one negative thing about Star Wars. Like, no, this is a guy that's grown up with the property and he's loved it like his whole life. And I mean, what do you say to people like that try to come at you? Because that's something I've always admired about you and Joseph on your shows. Like, you can look at all this stuff out there on the internet and just like, nope, I hear you, but no.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It took a lot of the fun out of it. I've said before, I did not enjoy going on Jedi Council for the last 2 years of that show until I got the lead chair for a few weeks. It just wasn't fun because of the stuff we face. Joseph and I, we choose on air to be positively negative. If you think I haven't, not just you, but if anyone out there thinks I haven't said anything negative about modern Star Wars, they haven't been listening. They haven't been going week by week and hearing everything that I talk about. But I'm like you. At the end of the day, I love this. I love this. I love Game of Thrones. I love baseball. I love pizza. I love, and I'm never going to stick around something that I am not excited for. I routinely just put on Star Wars and watch it. It is a job, and it was fun. But some of the direct stuff, it's just people not understanding necessarily parts of the business. There's nothing I've ever said on air that has been heard by Disney employees or Lucasfilm employees and has turned into anything. There's nothing, not one thing. No one comes up to you with a checklist and goes, "Oh, hey, cool, we heard you on this podcast. You're doing great. You get some tickets." That's never happened. That's not the business. So that starts. That's where some of it starts. It's just not understanding how some of that works. But in action, I've turned away from the term. I'm a positive fan. I am, but that's now that it's used so often to write me off. Where I not just writing a book about it, but podcasting about it 5-6 hours a week, and paying my bills from that. Like, we study, Joseph and I study the themes of Star Wars and the things, and so it's been a struggle. I've been really grumpy lately, and I'm trying not to be because that's not fun. It's not fun. That's why I've been pretty open. Like, there'd be times me and Christian would sit down on that Jedi Council desk and we wanted to be anywhere but there. And that's not fun.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Not fun.
Yeah, and that was a show I watched regularly, and I think you can actually see it sometimes where it's like, it got exhausting, and it's like, all right, we have to do this panelistic type of thing, and then you get comments in the videos like you guys suck, your Disney shills, and it's like this isn't what I grew up on, and I challenge anybody that is like that to go to a celebration if it even happens this year. Hopefully it will happen. I challenge you to go to a Star Wars celebration.
Oh,
never met anybody like that at a Star Wars celebration. We've gone twice? Yeah, twice.
No, yeah.
Orlando and Chicago.
Yeah.
Both times we've been there, it's like we have disagreements about certain things, but for the most part, it's just like there's none of those trolls there. I've never had an experience like that ever with anybody at a celebration. So.
Well, one of the things too, I wrote about it in Why We Love Star Wars when I talked about the humor and the fun of Star Wars, like poking fun at Star Wars and realizing some of it's pretty silly is part of what brings us together. Me and my good friend from high school, Joel, became really good buddies, and because we would have little inside jokes about Star Wars, and that stuff over time turned into it was weaponized in a way, and a lot of it, even some fans, sometimes I'll get uber defensive, and I have to remind myself, oh no, I can list 20 things in Star Wars that I think are absolutely silly and stupid, and that's part of what pulls me in, and that's part of what celebrating all of it is as well. And it was before I even knew Scrimshaw. One of his jokes, in something he would say was like Star Wars fans have agreed that there's one great movie, one good movie, and the rest are these fun, wonderful, silly pieces of creative art. And that was before Force Awakens came out. He would always say that. And I just when I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's kind of how it goes for me, and it's just fun to dive into every little detail because of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like it's kind of like saying like you got to be able to laugh at yourself sometimes. You know what I mean?
sure.
Because it's like if you take it so like a lot of us fans take it like so unbelievably serious that like it's,
I created Star Wars. You're personally attacking
it's like
me.
that gatekeeping that you guys talk about all the time, and like I'm guilty of that sometimes too. Like in my head, I'm like, well, I've been a fan longer than you have. What do you know about Star Wars? But it's like I continually remind myself like, no, everybody's experience is different with Star Wars, and we all love it for different reasons, and especially now like. Kids nowadays are growing up with these newer sequels. You're a fan because of the newer movies.
Yeah.
You're a newer fan to this property, so we gotta always I'm constantly reminding myself like, don't take it personally because you see people like see things that happen within the movies and they take it so seriously. It's like that's not my Star Wars. It's like, well, I didn't see you on the screenplay. You know what I mean? It's like you need to be able to take a step back sometimes and just understand that certain things don't happen. And that's life too. That's one of the things that Star Wars does sometimes. It reflects on real life, and that sometimes things don't go the way you want them, but you got to be able to roll with the punches sometimes. So
before we move on, I don't know why we didn't get a little notification, but I do see a Streamlabs that came in. A Streamlabs? A Streamlab. Movie Fanobi, thank you, said, just want to say hello, Andrew and Nikki. Ken is a great man, and I have his book. Some great Star Wars fans and people here. Have a great night, Steve.
Yeah,
thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. And Movie for Nobody's always in the chat and always following us for all of our stuff. And if you have not gotten a copy of Why We Love Star Wars by this man,
treat yourself.
Treat yourself. I've fallen back on it a bit. I'm terrible at reading, so that's why I do audiobooks all the time. I'm a legendary snail reader, if you might say. So I have to do the audiobooks, and I'm about, I think, halfway through it right now. I can't remember.
That just
where
means
I
that you get
left
to
off.
listen to the velvety smooth voice of one Ken Napzok.
The audiobook is actually my favorite version of the book, so that's that. So I appreciate the support.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive into the main topic of tonight. And again, I don't want to keep Ken too long because I know he's a busy man. We talked this stuff off there. I don't want to keep him longer than we have to. So let's go ahead and dive into the main topic. And the main topic of today's podcast is balance in the Force. Now, there's certain ways you can look at this. I've always had this understanding of like balance means equal parts. And I know, Ken, you've talked about that you're more war than lore in Star Wars. And but then again, it's like this man knows Star Wars inside and out. And I've always wanted to hear your take on this, on what balance in the Force means to you. And like, because like all things in Star Wars, it's you can see it from a certain point of view, if you might say. And I just wanted
Was that a book joke? A certain point of view?
That's a line from the movie, my dear.
My bad. I thought it was the name of a Star Wars book.
It is.
I guess I do know what I'm talking about.
But it's a line from a movie. So.
It's also a line.
Dude. And I'll tell you what, too, because I know I'm having some internet issues. If I'm going to switch networks really quick. You guys might lose me for a second. But I'm going to try to see if this helps some stuff. Because I want Ben Goddard to be able to hear me okay.
Do they not hear you guys?
No, they're saying that he's choppy. Brandy was saying that she can hear him, understand what he's saying, but he's still choppy.
We might actually have to bring you back in, so we might have to hang up on you and then bring you back.
Yeah, that's okay.
So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll try switching your network first.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can keep it like this if they can hear me. I don't want to mess up the flow here.
Yeah, because we had this problem. We had Mark Riley on the show, and I don't want to have this problem with Ken. I don't know what the issue is, but yeah. So if you want to try that, go ahead. But
Looks like he might already be
yeah,
doing it.
okay.
Well, in the meantime, the Prince That Wasn't Promised
Yeah.
asked, what was your favorite non-major character's action figures?
Action figures. Ooh. I think we
I
might have
have
lost him.
no say in this.
Oh, no.
Oh,
There he is.
maybe
He's still there.
back. Maybe he's back.
So, action. I'm not a big collector of action figures. The ones that I
Ken,
have.
the question was, what was your favorite non-major character action figure? That's the question that was posed to the crowd.
I don't think
Oh,
he's heard
no.
us.
Oh, no.
Do you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, can you hear
you.
us?
I can hear you.
Nice.
Am I just frozen in time?
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, not for us.
Well, you're back on our end, so it might be some delay. All right. So if you want to go ahead and read that question. Again.
What was your favorite non-major character action figure?
My favorite non-major character action figure might be the Imperial Gunner from the 1985 line. The first Power of the Force line was actually like it just was my favorite figure, solidly built. Loved everything about it.
Nice. Like I said, I didn't like if I did collect action figures, they're all like if you can see right now, I have the Black Series, and they're all major characters. So I really don't have a non-major character that I like, and obviously you don't have many.
No, I don't have any. I don't have a dog in this fight.
Yeah, but if you want to ask somebody about that Ken's the perfect person to ask because collector of all things Star Wars. But yeah, let's jump back into the main topic. I think we might have lost you a bit before you started your answer for balance in the Force.
Ah, yes.
I definitely want to hear your take about this because sitting down with you, I've always wanted to hear your take.
Look, I got to tell you, the balance of the Force is one of the more confusing concepts in Star Wars because it's been changed throughout the years, and there's different points of view on it, which are wonderful. And I also think, I believe wholeheartedly in unreliable narrators and these modern myths and how they impact the story and the characters' points of view. And not everything characters say are facts. And I don't like living in that canon checklist world. So that said, like there's to me the balance of the Force is just it is a light side kind of in control situation. And answering the dark, and the dark might always be there. I really love that Freddie Prinze Jr. kind of rant that he went on last year, getting some stuff from George. The math thing. Hey, Vader, Palpatine, that means you get twins, and that's kind of the balance and that type of stuff. I don't know if that always works every case, and that's what I love about it. It's like the Chosen One prophecy. George Lucas will tell you it's Anakin, and that's the answer. It's Anakin. But I love that Obi-Wan at one point suddenly realizes, or he believes it's Luke. I love that Yoda kind of. I think Leia should be the one. I love that it can kind of change and keep going there, and that I don't want to open a book and be like, here is the answer. This is what the balance of the Force means.
Yeah.
I love being kind of fluid.
Yeah, that's sort of my take as well. It's like everything in the Star Wars canon, or however you want to look at it, is up to interpretation. Much like how characters will have Force visions, and it's up to whoever is having that vision to interpret what they're seeing. You might interpret it one way, but you say it to somebody else like, well, maybe you shouldn't do that because the Force might be trying to tell you this. And I've always been, I think, looking at the movies and the canon, I think the one person I think that really I think was getting it into the right spot was Rian Johnson, The Last Jedi, because he talks a lot about balance, and like Snoke touches on is like, the stronger Kylo Ren got in the Force, his equal in the light would rise, and that would happen to be Rey. Luke talks about it on Octo with like, it's not just that the Force belongs to one person or the Jedi or the Sith. It's like it's this equal parts, powerful light, powerful dark, powerful dark. Like I was just never want to understand that, like, all right, the prophecy was Anakin would destroy the Sith, and that would bring balance to the Force. I never understood destroying one half of Force users would balance the scales. I always thought as if you have good, you have to have evil. If you have dark, you have to have light, and one can't exist without the other. And that's what I've always taught. And again, Star Wars reflecting life. Like who's to say? There's always two sides to a story. There's you can't have one without the other. And being a martial artist, the whole idea of yin and yang, just balancing your emotions and balancing everything. That I've always thought like I always use Star Wars as like a teaching tool. And like I can tell, I can't tell you how many times I've gone into like a tournament or a sparring match and I having Qui-Gon Jinn in the back of my head, like, oh, use your instincts, don't concentrate on the moment, don't think too much. It's like just stuff like that. I always turn to Star Wars for. So, and that's everything that I've always thought balance meant. So what about you?
You pretty much summed up what I think of it too, because we were talking about it early this week, a couple days ago. And he was like, Andrew was like, so what does balance in the Force mean to you? And I'm like, is there any, what kind of question is that? Like, I thought it was just kind of assumed that, if there's rule of two, with Sith, if there's going to be two strong Jedi or something of the like. But I did think it was kind of odd that George Lucas would say Anakin is the chosen one. He's going to bring balance by like destroying everybody. Like, that's not balance. So it's pretty much what you were saying. It just, I don't know. It just kind of means that there's equal powers on both sides, and it's just going to be an eternal dance for, the power between the two sides. That's just kind of how I interpret it. I didn't really know that there were other interpretations of what balance in the Force was.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be honest. Makes sense to me.
And the big challenge of the sequel trilogy was to, if we're going to continue the stories, how do we continue the stories? That includes the politics, it includes the war, and that's why one of the first things you hear is Lord Santeca kind of saying so much that hey, we need the Jedi because there used to be balance, there ain't balance. Luke Skywalker says that. There was balance. Anakin Skywalker says that to Rey, bring back the balance like I did. We did have it. It was there for a while, and now, for the sake of storytelling, you got to figure out a way to make that work, and some of those things are just realities of going forward with the story in any way, shape, or form, and I think they tackled that as best they could and succeeded from my point of view, but it is one of the great questions. What is balance?
Yeah, and again, like that's why I love about like it's at the end of the day, it's storytelling. It has to be fluid. You can't. And the one thing that I had problems with the prequels was the introduction of midi-chlorians. It felt like somebody saying, "This is what the Force is," and I've always been one to like. I don't like things being, especially things like the Force being. This is exactly what it is. It's like no, I like that mysticism and that wonder. Like you can never really explain what it is. It's just you have to believe that it'll give you the right answer.
You shouldn't be able to quantify the Force.
Exactly, and that's really what I always thought that midi-chlorians really was. It's like introducing power levels, if you might say that, into Star Wars. So, I know this. It's just like this like. Don't even touch it anymore. Don't mention. I don't think we've ever had any mention of midi-chlorians past Revenge of the Sith.
No. I'm trying to remember. I mean, George probably would have brought them back in some way, shape, or form. Here, some of the trippier stuff and that mortar stuff and everything. Like George loved that thing, and yeah, the midi-chlorians thing. I get it because even back then I was like, what is that? I know where it comes. I know where George was going with it. I know what it tends, and it's kind of the life forms. As Yoda describes in Empire, the Force all around you. But it's fun to kind of keep it mystical, and that's the thing. You start getting answers. I always say answers lead to problems in fandoms because once you no longer have to wonder, you have some sort of answer of any kind. I always thought the wall was going to come down in Game of Thrones. That's how it came down. Not what I would have wanted. That's where the problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I think you bring a great point. If you finally get answers for something, then the storytelling ends, and you don't want. And especially now that you say we're never getting an end to any Star Wars anymore. I mean, we have ends to story arcs, but like Star Wars will continue on. We might not have many more stories involving the Skywalkers, but there's more out there. And like even the second you answer something, it's like, all right, we can't touch that anymore because we've already answered it.
Well, exactly. Like Rey's heritage. You said that you would have loved if it would have just been kind of left a mystery. But when they're like, hey, spell it out. Hey, by the way, this is what she is, and here's where she came from. I don't know who here hasn't seen it, so I don't want to be that person. But once you spell it out, like here's who she is, and here's where she came from, then now you just pissed off half the fandom because that's not
Mhm.
what they wanted to happen. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Could they have closed out the Skywalker saga without defining Rey's heritage? I don't know.
They
Would
could.
people have been equally as pissed about that? Never have finding out what she was.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I mean, it's the old argument like you're never going to satisfy everybody, and I'm one like I don't know how you are, Ken, but like I was always one to like roll with it. Like, all right, so we didn't get a clear answer in Force Awakens, then we get a sort of answer in the Last Jedi, and then I'm like, all right, I would have preferred her to be Luke Skywalker's daughter. I screamed that to the heavens, like she's Luke Skywalker's daughter, but then it turns out she's nobody. All right, so that's not what I expected, but I grew to love the fact that she came from nothing and became this powerful force in the Jedi. But then it's like, all right, that's great for her story. But then we get, this is who she is in the Rise of Skywalker. It's like, all right, not what I expected, but let me roll. It sends the same message, sort of, just turned on its end a bit. I just like if you I've always said like just roll with it. If you just don't be so attached to certain things, and like we have this problem with Star Wars fans all the time, like sometimes the story doesn't meet our expectations,
Yeah.
and when you meet with that with force and like no, that's not what I wanted, then you're not going to be satisfied, in my opinion, because I've always thought that like if you just accept the stories for what they're telling you and figure out what the story is trying to tell us, then you'll be a bit more pleased with what goes on. And then that's something I learned from you guys from Force Center.
No, that's the mantra we've been saying for a while now. At first, it was speculate responsibly coming out of Last Jedi. Then it turned into Joseph's great insight of engage with the story presented to you, and that way you'll start to really kind of see it for what it is and see the great connections are there. I'm someone who loved what was revealed in Last Jedi, or what we thought was revealed, but the way they dealt with it, the way an answer, and I will die on the hill and probably scream in faces in person to tell you that she chose to be no one in the end, and that was the point. And when Kylo tells her, you don't have, you have his power, that's the lie, that's manipulation. That is a bad thing to say. That's not fact. Again, what characters say aren't always facts, and I think just a lot of people took it wrong. I just point blank think people took it wrong, and they're not engaging with what's presented there. She is her greatest fear now is she's connected to an ultimate evil. She's got to confront that fear, and she chooses to be no one. And it is also a powerful statement that this really grotesque, powerful, masculine energy wants to inhabit everything about her and take away her choice, her agency, and her purpose. And she fights against that and chooses to be no one.
So
And
political.
in the end, helps defeat the Palpatine legacy. In the process, needs to use Leia's blade as well as Luke's, completing Leia's arc that was first really kind of touched upon in Empire Strikes Back in 1980. If there is another, like, just a lot of powerful things that are there if you want to engage with them, and that's where I choose to take these on in. Again, doesn't I wanted more Rose Tico. Do I feel that Palpatine was in the plans back in Episode 7? No, I don't think that was the case. But it's what they do with it, and the connections are there. And it was powerful for me. It wasn't for everyone, though, and I understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, guys, our Streamlabs is up. Let me know if that link is still working, because I think I fixed the problem. It's AndrewandNikki.stream. Go ahead and do your questions there. Meanwhile, let me bring up some topics from our Squadron Commanders. Again, if you want to join, help support these shows that we do on our channel weekly, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/Andrew and Nikki. Our Squadron Commanders at the $20 tier get to dictate the conversation on our weekly shows. And Ferris Montana asks, this is a question for Ken. What was the spark that made you write your book, Why We Love Star Wars? So,
I've answered this, so I'll be honest. I got fired. I got laid off, and I had fallen into the trap of 5 days a week working for an internet company and having a lot of fun and being very thankful for the gig, but it was a job that wasn't fulfilling in the end, and I wanted to change my path, and I didn't have, like Ray, I didn't have the fear, or I had fear. I had to face fear, and I had to face my destiny. What do I want my legacy to be? Who am I? And I went to Alicia Malone and said, hey, I think I'd like to write a book. And we wrote to for Mega Publishing, and she said, you absolutely far as it being Star Wars and everything, that was just an expected business decision from me and the publisher of what am I most known for, what do I have the most to say on right now, and it was Star Wars. The reason I answer about job loss because that's where it came from. It came from let me use this opportunity to see where I want to put my creative energies and what I want to leave behind, and that's where it started.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking on like how quickly did you come to that decision? It's like, yep, Star Wars. Was it immediate? Like, oh, I want to write a book, Star Wars. Like, was it immediate, or did you have to talk to somebody and talk to the publishers? Like, I'm thinking because like I'm best known for this, obviously, but like, was it like right off the bat, or did you have to have a couple of conversations about it?
No, it was right off the bat in terms of the pitch, but I had some other ideas that I did want to still want to get out there in terms of writing. Star Wars is a large part of what I'm known for, and it's a large part of my life, but there's so many other things, right? But just a smart business decision. Plus, I really was in my heart. It was in my heart. It came from my heart. Everything about it was in my heart. And so it was one meeting, one phone call. And I can't lie. Like I was in the meeting, there was a conference call with Mango Publishing, and someone on the panel there was was a fan of Jedi Council, and the decision was already made, but it was just like, oh yeah, Star Wars, yeah. Oh my God, you're here. Yeah, we got to do this. So that's where it came.
Yeah, and I definitely wanted to have a conversation with you now that I have you in front of me. That like somebody like me, I've always wanted to get into filmmaking, and like there's these like blocks in my head, and like I can't do this and this. Like, should I be hesitant because like Star Wars fan films are either hit or miss, and like I almost hesitate to like, all right, my first official short film should be a Star Wars fan film, or should I try to go somewhere else that I'm not necessarily more comfortable with, or should like I know Star Wars so well now, and like I've loved it my entire life. Should I pour all my passion into this thing that may or may not hit, or should I try to take more
like a safer route,
like,
or
I don't know, like because like it's safer in my head that to do a Star Wars fan film, but then would that speak to? Am I just trying to speak to that little niche on the internet, or should I go to a wider demographic or something like that? Like, what would you say to somebody like me that's like has these like roadblocks that I put up in my head that I just to go for it, or things like that?
It's Shia LaBeouf. Just do it. You're gonna have that along the way. You don't think I wake up every day and think, God, I'm horrible. I can't do any of this. Every one of us do this. In terms of being creative, here's what I'll say is, if you have the means and you have the creativity, why do a Star Wars fan film? Why do something that exists in a world? Can it get you work? Can it get? Yeah, I'm acquaintances with Kevin Rubio, who did Troops in the '90s, and that directly launched his career. It can happen. It can happen. But tell stories, be creative. Or if you want to do something about Star Wars, like I did, I wasn't going to write I couldn't legally write a novel, a Star Wars story. I could write about it. I could comment. If you're going to do something, maybe do that. What's a documentary about Star Wars you want to do? But if you want to do a film, I would challenge everyone. If you, I'm going to be very blunt. I would challenge everyone to do original IP, to do original properties, to tell stories that are in that world versus someone else's characters and creations. Just go full bore that way. That is something that's more interesting to me than anything else. Not that some of them are spectacular. They look great, shot great, the performance is great. They got actors in them. James R. Taylor and Doug Jones I've seen in these fan films. That's all great. I would encourage you, because I know you. I would encourage you. What's in your mind that's original that you want to share?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I have problems with fan films, is that like why tackle something that and try to like that Vader fan film that came out, what was it, last year? It was a great piece of storytelling, but it's like you're touching a character that already has established roots and established storylines, and it's like all right, this is the version that I want to see. It's like, no, like why would I want to see that? So oh, we're getting an echo. Is anybody hearing an echo?
I'm hearing it.
What do you hear?
It's an echo. It might be there. It goes. Okay.
All fixed.
There we go. All fixed. Cool. All right. So another squadron commander that has a question. Ken, you might be familiar with this person, Timur Butta.
Oh, who's in chat? Hey.
Squad. Yeah. He asks, if you get the opportunity to publish your second book, of why we love Star Wars. What are some moments of recent content in TVs, movies, shows, and books / comic books that you would want to include in this second run, because it has to be coming, right?
I mean, I wish it was. That's not my call. It's the publisher's call. Yeah, I would. That's great. I have thought about this. What's moved me? I think one of my now top 5 favorite Star Wars scenes is Han returning to Kylo Ren in a memory in Rise of Skywalker. I mean, that moves me in ways I can't even explain yet.
Yeah.
Poe at the foot of Leia after she passes, and Lando showing back up is powerful to me. It's not a Navy, it's just people moments. It brings tears to my eyes. There's a lot of those kind of things. Luke lifting the X-wing, the completion of his kind of journey going back to Empire, something he failed to do. Now at the end is what he's doing. There's that from those movies. There's probably little things I think about. For Mandalorian, there's a lot of little moments. One of my favorite things is the rehabilitation and reprogramming of IG-11. That's the core thesis statement of The Mandalorian, at least season 1, is the time they take to explain the rebuilding of IG-11 is the point of the entire series, and it moved me. I just watched it again yesterday, actually, and I really like that. So that there's, I don't know, maybe some more Rebels. There's a lot of things I didn't get to thought of, a lot of even things the original trilogy, everything I have to go back to. So I haven't made a formal list, but I'd probably go with something like that.
Awesome. And I know that you have your own thoughts about because the Ben Solo and the Han Solo scene is my favorite scene in the Rise of Skywalker. We've had this conversation that I like that it revisits lines from Force Awakens, and it's echoing things. And I've always had the analogy of it's a moment that Ben Solo wishes that he can do over again. And like this is the version that he should have done the first time, and he gets a second. Very again echoing life. Like very few times you get a second chance at anything, and this is Ben's second chance.
Yeah.
So I know you have problems with that.
Not that I have like big major problems. I just hearing you explain it the way you explain it, it's like, okay, I get it, I understand. But I know that the first couple times I saw it, I was like, I don't like that they're using the same like
Lines.
word for word lines. It just felt kind of, I don't know. I hate to use the word cheap, but it just felt kind of like, I don't like that. But now that I've heard you describe why you like it, it makes me see it in a different light of like, yeah, you never, maybe he regretted what he did in The Force Awakens because it was a pretty terrible thing to do. So maybe it was more, maybe I'm just looking at it too much as like, because it didn't look like a memory. You know what I mean? It looked pretty concrete and real. So maybe I'm just having a problem of them like, oh, you're just doing a remake of an old scene. But if you look at it as
His second
righting his wrongs and, that kind of thing, then I guess it brings a new meaning to it for me. But I still have to get past them using the same lines.
And for me, I'm like the again, one of the best moments in Rise of Skywalker is the saber passing. That's like top 5 Star Wars moments for me. And it's just, I know your favorite character is Rey, and that has to be
Probably,
a big moment for you.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so thank you for that, for Tamor for that question. And Ferris, again, has another topic that he wants to ask. He just wants to ask a quick question of what is your guys' favorite alien species in Star Wars? That's a very big question. There's so many. Just like go on Wikipedia for like 5 minutes, and you get like maybe a whole bunch of species in there that Yeah. So like that's a loaded question. I mean, off the top of my head, trying to like go into the Rolodex on my head. What's your me and Ken think.
I got a little distracted. Tell me what the question was again.
Your favorite alien species in Star Wars?
Alien, not even just a creature.
Yeah, species. I think we'll like narrow it to sentient species.
Oh,
that's a loaded question. Like there's so many. There's so many.
Oh no. I mean, I don't know why the first place my head went, and I don't know if this counts, but what are they called? The little Pokemon looking guys from The Last Jedi. the ice fox little guys.
Oh, Texas.
Vulpix. That's the
Vulpix,
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Vulptex. They're pretty
Crystal
cute. The crystal
Crystal
critters.
critters, yeah.
They're pretty cute. I don't know why my brain went there first, because I feel like the right answer is Ewoks or something.
Oh,
but
that's a good answer.
I'm drawn to. Oh, no, I was gonna say I'm drawn to cute things, but Ewoks are cute too.
Cute is good.
Cute is good.
Yeah.
I'd probably say that. And I, like I said last time, and I will stick by this. I think fathiers are cute, even though they have weird human-like faces. And I will stick to that.
Great.
They're adorable, and I'd love to just hug one of them in their leg.
Their leg, these are giant. What would you say, Ken?
Yeah, it's funny because when we get that question, I sometimes always go to the background characters, right? So I'm like, I like Duros. I like Abdad Meadows, the new rating. But then even in chat, like Steve Monis says, Mon Calamari.
Yeah.
Like, I forget to count those sometimes because I always want to go to the background. Like, background, it might be Duros aliens. But I also like Kawaki and monkey lizards. I don't know. So I like Gungans at times. So I might go Ewoks. I'm like pretty big, but I'm also a huge fan of Tumon Calamari. I love Radisson Akbar. Who doesn't, right? So I don't know. If it's background, I'll go Duros.
Yeah, you said Kawaki monkey lizards, and like I immediately go to Salacious Speed Crumb. Gave me nightmares as a kid. Like I've said it before that the Last Jedi, The Return of the Jedi is my childhood favorite, but my least favorite part about that movie was Salacious B. Crumb because that laugh just gave me nightmares.
Yeah, he's pretty gross.
Yeah, I would probably have to say, probably Zabrax, because we get Aegon Kohler from Revenge of the Sith.
Is Darth Maul a Zabrak?
But Darth Maul. So again, bringing it back to the main theme of our show today, balance. You have Aegon Kohler, who doesn't look as threatening as a Zabrak as Maul, but then you have Maul, who's this, like epitome of like nightmares. You know what I mean? So I would have to say Zabrax.
Do you guys know? I'm asking. Do you know? Humor me. Do you guys? Toongs. Tamor says Toongs from the last week's episode of Clone Wars.
Toongs.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
I
right.
don't know what that is, but I'm sure you guys are right.
Ben Quadraneros from the pod race. They brought back those species. Yeah, in Clone Wars. It was great. I enjoyed that a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're going to be on for another 10 minutes for the stream, and we're going to end it on time today because we don't want to keep Ken too long because busy man, got to keep up on the hustle over there in LA. So go ahead and drop your Streamlabs, Andrew and Nikki.stream. Go ahead and type in chat. Anything new in the world of Star Wars that you're looking forward to, Ken? That we have, because we obviously have to finish up Clone Wars. There are certain with everything going on in the world right now. There's everything's being delayed. So anything that we're getting, because there's books that are coming out that are slated to be released soon, and anything big that's popping in your head that you're looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, putting aside like High Republic, I'm interested in, and the shows that we know might be delayed. I'm a big fan of the Kenobi idea, big fan of the Cassian Andor idea. Mando season 2, I'm intrigued. But I'll tell you what I am looking for right now that's on the way is there's a young adult Poe Dameron novel coming out that is going to tell a little bit about his youth in that period of time with Zord Bliss and everyone on Kijimi. And I'm really looking forward to that story. I was really a big fan of that choice. To kind of roll in that part of Poe's life that we hadn't heard about before. And I just love the character of Zori Bliss. I mean, she's always right here in my studio with me there. So I'm intrigued with that. And that will also hopefully allow for some more Babu Frick.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't like Babu Frick?
Yeah, he's pretty cute. Does he have a species? We gotta look that up because he's pretty cute.
Oh my god, you just said that I'm having Schmodown flashbacks. I know I should know it, but again, I'm not in match shape right now. Kind of taking a break right now from the studying for this week at
COVID
least.
break.
No. I am studying, but for this week, I got to catch up on other things. So I'm taking a bit of a break from the studying right now. Yeah. But I'm gonna jump back into that this coming week. So
God bless you, man. I don't do that no more. So
Hey man, somebody has to take Alex down, and when I get my shot, I'm gonna give him all that he can handle.
Don't give him hell.
Yeah,
sure you will. I know you will.
Yeah. So, is there anything that you want to look forward to in Star Wars? Because I know again you're the newer fan on
Yeah.
this panel of Star Wars fans right now. Because
Yeah.
you're not as again like I like having you on the show because we get that everyday person's perspective
Yeah.
on Star Wars, and not just like the people that are entrenched with it and just love it to death and things like that. So anything because I know you're not into like Clone Wars or anything like that, but like is there anything that you want?
I'm looking forward to the next season of The Mandalorian. I don't know if that's too basic an answer,
Yeah.
but I'm
yeah,
looking forward to it.
That was like the one Star Wars thing besides the movies that you like. Don't watch this without me. I want to watch this with you.
I would say don't watch Mandalorian without me. And no. Did you watch it without me when it was coming out? I don't think you did. Maybe once.
Once, I think.
Maybe once.
I think the second episode I watched.
Because I was at work or whatever,
Yeah.
so he had home court advantage.
And I
It's
was like,
whatever.
I couldn't help myself. The baby went down for a nap. I'm like, I'm gonna watch the next episode.
But
of
I
Mandalorian.
can't blame you. You get a pass for Star Wars. So,
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
that's probably the thing that I'm
Mhm.
most excited to see.
Mhm.
Are there an Obi-Wan series? That would be kind of cool.
That's getting delayed though.
Well,
I think.
shit.
rumors that it's being delayed.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, it's
For a
understandable.
lot
What
of-
isn't?
Yeah.
yeah, for a lot of reasons, but now more than ever, the virus.
I would say that. Probably those two
And
things.
to show us turn on because again we're gonna be on for another couple of minutes, guys, and I haven't seen any Streamlabs come in just yet or any questions. But Ken, is there anything in like Legends or canon that you want to see adapted for either a movie or a live action series or something like that? Because I've always said like the Plagueis novel, make that canon. Just make it canon already. It's such a great story, such a great book. And if you just make it canon, it's great. Is there anything like that pops into your head? Because I know you're not big on the old Legends stuff, but like, is there anything that's in canon right now that you'd like to see them touch more on in any kind of form?
In canon, that hasn't been touched upon. I don't know. I always joke, but it's kind of true about the rise of Chief Sherpa and go inside the politics of Bright Tree Village. I actually would like that. I am looking forward to. I see a chat. Tamor's talking about the Siege of Mandalore. Like I'm finally excited that we talked about to see that. As far as the James Lucindo's Plagueis novel is very good, and I think you could adjust it. I think you need to go through and
Yeah.
kind of clean it up. And that's not the novel's great, but just kind of like they did with Thrawn. Like let's
Yeah.
plug it into this
Yeah,
modern
there's
world.
there's certain things in there that don't really vibe with the new canon right now, so you have to like
Yeah.
course
fact, that-
correct, quote unquote. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the Sheev Palpatine is not a name that exists in that world. In fact, he gets rid of his first name or something. That's been a while since I've read it. But I have no problem going in. You hear a lot about young Palpatine, a series idea. It would be fascinating. I would be on board for that. Of all the things that were almost happened, the idea there was that Mos Eisley script that was laying around. I would like to see some with that too. I have no problem revisiting those kind of worlds. I'm not a huge underworld bounty hunter type of guy, but there's a lot of fun things in that.
Excellent. Yeah. And I've always been one like I would like to see like in the very least like a comic book run of Wedge Antilles like leading Rogue Squadron, because Wedge Antilles is my favorite Rebel pilot out of anybody. No disrespect to Luke Skywalker, but like my favorite side character, favorite Rebel pilot, Wedge Antilles. I want to see Rogue Squadron. It's like the Rogue Squadron games from Nintendo and like the GameCube era, and like those are some of the best like X-wing piloting games out there. So like I want to see that. And Wedge doesn't really get enough love. Like I was excited to see his name pop up in Aftermath, but then like the first Aftermath book, he's hardly in it. But then he finally gets a little bit more respect in the next couple of novels. And anytime he pops up in canon, I'm like, oh, it's Wedge Antilles. I'm so excited.
Talking about things we want to see, I want to see a little thing, maybe like a short or a mini series on Poe Dameron being a spice runner. I think that'd be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, they're getting the young reader novel, like Ken said.
Yeah, that's the novel.
Oh, I don't read books. I don't read Star Wars. Well, I'll have to jump on that, I guess.
Drew will read it to you. He'll read it to you. He'll just you'll take turns at night.
Perfect.
Read each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll read it to our daughter as a bedtime story.
Speaking of books, again, if you have not picked up a copy of Why We Love Star Wars by this man right here, Ken Napzok, pick up that book right now. Amazon. Where can they find that, Ken? Just to refresh everybody's memory.
Yeah, no, wherever books are sold, I know we can't go out, but you can find them at Barnes and Nobles every now and then too. But you can get them online, and if you want, if you want to go directly through my website, kennapzok.com, go to the shop tab, get a signed copy directly from me, I'll send it out. Cost slightly higher, so I can take care of the shipping, but I can personalize it and send it your way.
I can tell you firsthand that it is definitely worth the purchase. Again, I'm only I think I'm at moment 48 in the audiobook. Again, if I was still reading it right now, I'd probably be on moment 25 because I am a snail reader. That's why I do audiobooks. And if you have not done any of the Star Wars audiobooks, treat yourself. They are fantastic because they're like a movie with sound effects and music, and especially with Mark Thompson. Mark Thompson, if you can pick up any Star Wars book, find a book that's narrated by Mark Thompson, you will not be disappointed. So I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap the show up right now. We're close to an hour. I don't want to keep Ken longer than we have to. But thank you so much for joining us, Ken. This has been almost a dream come true to talk Star Wars with you, because again, the handful of times we've met, the conversation went to Schmodown, because that's pretty much what we were meeting for. But it's definitely a pleasure having you on the show. Where can they find you online on all of your networks and shows and things?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Thanks for reaching out. I think you're both great. I appreciate your support for the afternoons with Josh, Ken, and Amanda. Dimmy, your charts, I know you don't have time to do those every year because they're exhaustive, but we really appreciate that. We appreciate you guys being part of that community. So happy to give back to you for that. I apologize for tech problems. It's been the whole world is streaming right now, so I think all of Burbank's internet is screwed. So thanks for bearing with me, but appreciate it. To follow me, go to Ken Napzok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but just go to the website, kennapzok.com. I am launching very soon. It's already there. You can find it, but in about 2-3 weeks, it goes live in a broader scale. A baseball podcast feed called Box Score Heroes. Outside of Star Wars, my other big passion has always been baseball, and finally have decided to talk about it. Nice. So that is there, Box Score Heroes. You can follow that on Twitter or find it wherever podcasts are podcasted.
Yeah, and I'm always in awe of your baseball knowledge. I'm like, how does he know that? Like,
I've never watched baseball a day in my life, but I could listen to you and Josh guess baseball cards for hours.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's amazing.
And again, if you are a Star Wars fan and you are not listening to Force Center with Ken Napzok and Joseph Scrimshaw, what are you doing? Go over to that podcast feed right now, hit follow, hit subscribe, because if you love Star Wars, you're gonna have a blast and just loving listening to these two men talk about Star Wars for like 2-3 hours at a time. I do it every week.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Nicki Dimalanta, where can they find you online?
Mostly Twitter at Dimmy, DIMMMYYY.
Be sure to follow her for the afternoons charts.
It's
been a while since we got one.
They pop up every so often, when I get inspired.
Yeah. And as for me, you can follow me on Twitter. Don't do much of Instagram anymore, but you can follow me at Drew Dimalanta, DIMALNTA. And I have to plug our Patreon again. You're gonna not see Ken for a couple of seconds here, but thank you again to the squadron. Go over to patreon.com/Andrew and Nikki to become a member of the squadron. Thank you to our squadron officers you see on the screen here, and also to our squadron commanders, Tamor Butter and Ferris Mathana. Again, many tiers. We just recorded a Schmodown play along to a Star Wars match.
We sure did.
Nikki was the one playing along, not me, because that would not be fair for me to play along, because
absolutely crushed it.
Star Wars competitor up in here. So thank you again to Ken Napzok for joining the show. Join us again next week, every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Going Rogue, and we will see you next week. Don't have a guest lined up just yet, but we'll see. But thank you for joining us. May the Force be with you, always.